Hello and welcome to the second session of Six Sigma Yellow Belt. Today we have between us Mr. Karve. He is currently developing sustainable quality initiatives at Reliance Industries Limited. He is having experience of 37 years spanning domains of manufacturing, debottlenecking, project planning and commissioning, learning and development, and Six Sigma. Mr. Karve is an ASQ certified Master Black Belt, fourth from India among very few Indians. He is also a certified examiner of the Ramakrishna Bajaj National Quality Awards. He has trained 50 employees to get ASQ Black Belt certifications, more than 250 employees to get Green Belt certifications, and has mentored 300 improvement projects for manufacturing services, Reliance Supply Chain, Geo FCNA, etc. I would lastly conclude expressing him for giving his valuable time out of his busy schedule, pouring out immense knowledge amongst all of us. Without any further ado, I'm going off and I request her to continue further. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sure. So today's topic is about the Six Sigma, which is not an traditional topic generally you come across in your chemical engineering course. So basically, this is a different type of a subject which you are going through. Basically, what during your chemical engineering, mostly you undergo and technical subjects and more of a mathematical calculation, design calculations, etc. But this is a typical subject which does not involve, this is a conceptual subject. You have to understand the concepts, how it is being done, why it is being done, etc. And one peculiar thing about this subject is this is a subject which will be useful for you throughout your career. Means whatever level you are, you may be a shift engineer, you may be a production manager, you may be a plant manager, or you may be a director of an organization. So if you know a Six Sigma or type of a subject, then you will be an effective in your regular day-to-day work. So this is an cherry on ice cream, or what we call it as an add-on subject, and it is very important, and it is rather a management subject, not a very heavy one like you have in your tech course, but simple concepts, but it is very difficult to practice it and difficult to implement it. That is what is main story about a Six Sigma. So let us start with our subject. So basically, I will be conducting 3 sessions. These are the agenda. I have split it into 4 sessions because last time we had 4 sessions of 2 hours each. Now this time we are doing 3 sessions of 3 hours. So basically what I am trying to say is I will be covering all these topics which are mentioned in 4 sessions. So today we'll have an overview of what is Six Sigma methodology is, why Six Sigma methodology, or rather why organizations go for adopting a Six Sigma methodology. Then there are what are the different approaches used to identify projects and how exactly Six Sigma methodology works. And basically, okay. Okay, so we'll go through that, and then the second session probably will cover the concept also. The Six Sigma methodology has a 5 steps, which is called as a define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. So probably we'll have a detailed discussion on define phase today itself. So what are the concepts which are used in the define phase, and what is exactly mean by a project charter preparation, and then measure phase concepts and tools. So probably I will be explaining you the concepts of the tools. So you try to understand what are the concepts which are being used and statistical tools. So the next session will be on basic statistical tools and basic 7 QC tools. So we'll go through these basic 7 QC tools in detail, because unless you use one of the 7 QC tools, you can't go for an advanced tools. So there are a lot of advanced tools which we'll talk about. But basically, for solving any problem or analyzing any problem or analyzing any root cause of a problem, you have to have use one of the basic quality tool, and then you can go for an advanced tool. That is why we will go for an basic 7 QC tools in details. And then there is a concept or tool which is called as a failure mode effect analysis, that we'll also look at that in detail. We'll also discuss about what are the lean tools which are being used. So nowadays lean tools are being very popular, and everybody talks about the lean Six Sigma, lean tools, etc. So we'll have an overview about what are the lean tools, how lean tools are being used, why, how the lean tools and typical statistical tools are different, etc. Then we'll also go at an improve control phase, concepts and tools. And at every stage, we will talk about the roles and responsibility of an individuals involved in this process. And I will also share a few case studies with you at the end, so that you will appreciate how actually this is being used in industries. So let us start with the subject, which is Six Sigma. So basically, we'll start with a story of an hare and tortoise, which we are all aware about. So our grandmother has told us the story when we were small kids. So what is the moral of the story in this? The moral of the story in this is slow and steady wins the race. So I'm extending this story ahead. So what is the next version of the story? This is, by the way, this is what is typically we have in our mind. This is the version of the story that we all have grown up with. Now, when we go ahead, in the first race, actually tortoise wins the race and hare lost the race. So what happened next? So hare thinks that can we have another race, and he requests tortoise, that we will run another race, and tortoise agrees on that. And they run a race again, and during this time, the hare went all out and without stopping from start to finish. And as we all know that hare is competent, and he wins the race by several miles. Now, what is important in this story is to understand what is the moral of the story. So, over our typical understanding as a childhood story, so the moral of this story is fast and consistent will always beat slow and steady. Now, what is a part of this part of the story makes a relevance with the Six Sigma methodologies. So the Six Sigma methodology has a relevance with fast and consistent. So what we try to attempt in Six Sigma is we try to make the process fast and consistent. That is what is all objective about. So we always say effective boss. So what is effectiveness is? Effectiveness is fast and consistent. So it should not happen that here only one time wins this race. So it is important that he should consistently win the race. Consistently should not sleep and goes from start to finish. So when we talk about the fast, it talks about lean tools. So when we want to make our processes fast, that is reducing the cycle time, fast product delivery to the market, attending the complaints in a shortest span of time, etc., etc. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to make our processes fast, and when we are making the process fast, we are using lean tools. And to make it consistent, what is the consistency means? It is without a variation. So when we want to reduce a variation in the process, generally statistical tools are being used. So when the originally Six Sigma started in 1987 or 2000 till 2000, so people were more focused on consistency of the process. So what were the thinking of a manufacturing industry? Generally, you will also be in a part of a manufacturing industry. So is my product consistent? So if my product is consistent, there is a lesser variation, then I will have an customer satisfaction. So it all started from that. And that consistency is also important, but it is now also important with a changing world that you should have a fast delivery of the process. So from 2000 onwards, the fast and consistent has come together to form a methodology which is called as a Lean Six Sigma methodology. So it is good to be slow and steady, but it is better to be fast and consistent if we want to survive in the market. Now, the next story, the story goes ahead now. So what is the next part of the story? So the next part of the story is now first race was won by a tortoise, second race was won by an hare. Now it is the tortoise turn. The tortoise again thinks of and says, can we run a race again? And he asks hare or rabbit that can we run a race? But this time I will decide the route of the race. So yes. So what tortoise probably thought of in his mind that he will select the route which is crossing through a river. Okay. So they agree to run a race, and as the tortoise has decided a route which is crossing through a river, the rabbit comes or hare comes to the bank of the river, and he has no choice to or no alternative to cross the river. The tortoise comes slowly, crosses the river, and goes over and wins the race. Now, what is the moral of the story? And why it is, what relevance does it make in a Six Sigma training? So the moral of the story is it is important to work on the competencies. So when any organization try to deploy a Six Sigma methodology, so indirectly what they try to do is improve the competency of the individuals, probably in a analytical skills, having knowledge about the statistical tools or detailed root cause analysis, etc., etc. So once you have that competency of an root cause analysis, you can make yourself always visible in the organization by taking up an improvement project, solving the impossible problems, etc., etc. That is what is the relevance which makes here in a Six Sigma training. Now, what is the next part of the story? Now, as they go ahead, now they are friends. So what they decide that we will run a race together. So what happens on the same route till they come to a river bank, the tortoise is on the back of an hare. And when they are crossing the river, it is ulta, the hare is on the back of a tortoise. And when they cross over again, the next is again the tortoise on the back of an hare, and they reach the target or a goal. So what is the moral of the story here? So this is how after crossing the river. So what is the moral of the story here? So the moral of the story here, it is good to be individually brilliant and have a strong core competencies, but unless you work in a team or you are able to work in a team and leverage each other's competencies, you will not achieve the best. So this is a very important factor why the people or the organizations are deploying Six Sigma. So basically, we always talk about teamwork helps, etc. So actually, in an organization, there has to be something which is done to inculcate or increase or improve that teamwork. So what is it that? So the deployment of an Six Sigma, which will always help teams to work together, teams to solve the problem. So what is exactly being done? That it is not like that the individual who will come forward and technically solve the problem, but the team will solve the problem, and team will cross-functional team will take up the problem, so that it is a reflection of an teamwork, or a team has solved the problem. And rather than if suppose you are a chemical engineer, probably it may happen that you will solve the problem in an operational angle or design angle, etc. But something which is important from a mechanical point of view or some instrumental point of view, that aspects are also important, which has to contribute in your problem solving. So we form a cross-functional team which will help you to solve the problem. So this is what why the organization generally deploy Six Sigma. So let us say team means together everybody achieves more. Once we have a good team, or once we have a team, what the team will work on. So it is a traditional methodology where there are different approaches of identification of the projects, etc. So it is always there that there is an expectation from some process, and there is a present level of situation, and there is always a gap. And if we try to this gap is a potential project we take up for an improvement. So this gap is always there. So if you work hard, the boss expectation again goes up in every field. Now you can also cope up with that scenario of the war scenario at Ukraine. So probably our government is trying to do everything to bring the students from there, but still there are expectations that they could have done it early. So every time there will be always expectation gap uh, from a customer point of view or a third party who is looking at it. So there will be always an expectation, and then there will be always gap, and we take up those as an gap to improve our performances. That is what is one approach which is generally taken up by the industries or the strong bosses or like that. But sometimes I feel that it is an crude method to take up such projects. So is there any systematic method available? So we'll go to the various systematic methods available in the different organizations. So you must have heard the word vision, mission, and objectives. So what is vision? Vision is a dream, a strategic thinking. So every organization writes down a vision. You must have read vision statements of many organizations, Colgate, then HUL, etc., etc. So the ultimate goal is creation of wealth for an organization. Now, it is very important that the only organizations will not have a vision. Even you as an individual can also have a vision. So that is how it is. These are all quality tools and quality methodologies or quality concepts which will help you as an individual also. So you can have a vision, that is, I want to be a CEO of an organization. You are all young people going in the college. So you will all, mostly 80% of the among you will have this type of a vision that I want to be a CEO of an organization, or I want to be a businessman in life. Now, the vision is not always about the money and etc. everything. So somebody can also have a vision. I want to run a mini marathon at the age of 50. It is also a good vision. It is not always like that, that the vision is always with the money. So, so in your personal life also, you can have some vision. Now, so that is how these tools will help you is in your professional life also, and as well as in your personal life also. So once we have a vision, vision is always a dream. Means thinking probably, we call it as a strategic thinking, okay, or dreams. So somebody at the CEO level looks at some dreams that I want this organization to be at this level. That is how Dhirubhai has built up Reliance. Then once we have that vision, then next is mission. So what is mission? So vision comes through when we have a strategic thinking. Next step is the strategic planning. So what is vision comes through a strategic planning. So there are various tools which are being used for strategic planning also, which are called as an Hoshin-Kanri, SWOT analysis, or balance scorecard, etc. So by the way, now if you look at all these quality tools, there are few tools which will have a name from a Japanese origin, or rather the tools originated from Japan and tools originated from Western world, Europe or America. Now these are one and the same. So what we achieve is a strategic planning which is done in Hoshin-Kanri also, SWOT analysis also, and balance scorecard also. So probably there are a lot of tools with the name of an Japanese name. So so if the consultant is Japanese, he probably will recommend you Japanese tools. If the consultant or an organization who has an impact of an Western culture, will suggest you to do a SWOT analysis or balance scorecard, etc. But the meaning and what we achieve at the end is same, what is called as a strategic planning. And what does the strategic planning do? Converting our vision to a mission. Now, this mission can be also split into a short-term goals or a long-term goals. So we can also write down the time period for that, 1 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years. Now, if you want to be a CEO of an organization, or I want to run a mini marathon, etc., I will naturally have what are my short-term goals, what are my long-term goals, and again calibrate myself whether I am achieving that or not, and I restate my short-term goals and long-term goals. That is the exercise which is never ending. So once we start from a vision, what is most important is one must have a vision. So once you have a vision, that is converted into mission through a strategic planning, and then we call it as the next part is a strategic execution, which is called as an objectives. And what are the objectives? Yes, they are measurable. So what we call it as an objectives are the metrics. And these are the metrics which are most important for us. And generally, when we take up any Six Sigma project or improvement projects, we take up an objectives for improvement. So that is how it has to be. Now, what we have seen in earlier case, that we have an expectation and there is a present performance and there is graph. Now, what we are trying to achieve using vision, mission, objective, we are trying to link our projects. The most important part of the project is we have to link our projects with an business objective, with the vision of an organization. So if what you are doing, what sense or what is it really worth for an organization? That is what we are trying to link. And if we take up those as a project, which will are going to impact the organization, definitely your visibility in the organization will improve. So that is how you have to take up the projects. Now, once you have an objectives, the most important thing is it should be measurable. So it should be measurable in terms of the number. That is a very basic thing which has been emphasized in Six Sigma. So, acha tha, theek ho gaya has no meaning in Six Sigma. So you have to say even my customer experience was 3 and it has improved to 4 or reduced to 2, etc., etc. So everything what you do has to be converted into numbers. That is what is the meaning of a Six Sigma project. And once you are able to convert that into a numbers, you are probably have an control over it. And if you have an control over it, then only you can improve or you can improve that process. That is what is Lord Kelvin has said. So what is wrong has to be converted into numbers, and we take up those as a project metric and improve the same. So the most important thing when you take up any project is integration. So what is important when any green belt, or when I say team, so when a team is formed, generally a team takes up any project or a problem. That is what is we call it as a policy management or a project management. They take up a project, improve certain things, and once they improve, so look at the we want to improve the productivity. Suppose you are producing something, monoethylene glycol, and you want to improve the productivity of monoethylene glycol from 100 metric tons per day to 105 metric tons per day. That is what is a project is. So the team will assemble together, work on it, will go through the steps, how they will work, etc. But first try to understand that what is project management and daily management is. Once they improve the production, means improve statistically process where earlier was 100 metric tons to 105 metric tons, etc. They will hand it over the entire observations to a daily management. Means it will not happen that the project team is continuously monitoring that. The production manager of that particular MEG plant will take up that. We call it him as a champion or a process owner of the process. So the project team improves something, and then the team hands over to a daily management, and it is then the responsibility of a daily management to monitor through dashboards, key performance indicators, etc., etc. So what is important in any project is that who is the champion or who is the process owner of the process, which process I am working on. And the entire responsibility of the project group or project team is to hand over that improvement to a process owner, and process owner or a champion should accept that yes, the process has improved, and now it is my responsibility to manage the process as a daily management. This is very important. Why I am emphasizing on this? In generally industries, this part of an project management and handing it over to an process or daily process management is missing. So generally, whoever does the project, if he is in MEG plant, he continuously keep on monitoring his project throughout of till he is in MEG. So unless he is transferred from MEG plant to some another plant. So that is what is missing in generally our organization. So it is very important that you hand over, whenever you take up a project team, take over a project, improves the process, he should hand over that project to a daily management. That is what I mean by an integration. So there is one process that we saw is vision, mission, objectives, and integration. So again, this is generally, if you go to the Birla companies, they follow a vision, mission, objective concept, which is originated from a Japanese background. Now, if you go to a few US companies, US organization or Western organization, generally they follow a concept which is called as a business process management. The concept is very similar, or nothing rocket science in it, but you have to understand that. So this process was, again, business process management was started by GE, and it is a fundamental concept of an Six Sigma. You all know that GE ने Six Sigma का काफी कुछ काम किया. So GE adopted this model of business process management, and which is fundamental concept of Six Sigma to take up the projects. So what does the BPM is focused on? The BPM is focused on understanding, controlling, and improving business processes. Simple. So the organization is made up of thousands of processes. There are 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 number of processes. So each activity is a process. Now Himanshu is coordinating for this training program is also a process. So each and every process can be improved. And that is what the business process management says, that which are important business processes that will create more value. You address those business processes and achieve maximum out of that. So how the business process management is being done? So we had an earlier vision, mission, objectives. So what probably they have done, they have three main levels of the processes, which is called as a business level process, operation level process, or a plant level or a process. So probably business level process is a very high level at the organization level. So when I gave you an example of MEG, so there are 4 or 5 plants or different chemicals are being produced by an organization. So probably you will look at somebody who is the owner of the organization, or CEO or director, or probably if one of you becomes a director, he will probably look at a business level objectives. So all these business level objectives are again linked with an operational level objectives. So probably if you consider, take an example of an MEG plant. So we are in the business where we have only MEG business or MEG plant. So business level KPIs could be the effectiveness or revenue, profit margins, etc., from a business level. Then when we come to an operational level, probably it is at a production manager level or a plant manager level. So he looks at the process. then issue of the product cost, quality, inventory, throughput, availability, etc., etc. And dropping down again from this operational level to a process, probably at the reactor level or something like that. What is the conversion rate in reactor? Or how much is the raw material being consumed? So is it that in an appropriate proportion what we output is? So are we matching or are we misusing raw material, etc., etc.? These are the process level problems. So basically, business process management deals with the business level, operation level, and process level. And we take up projects which are at the operational level, sometimes at the process level, or sometimes at the operational level also. So if we are talking about an end-to-end process, maybe a cost of the product or inventory, etc., etc. So operation level is also okay, or process level problems are taken up as Six Sigma projects. But one thing which is most important is that it should have a linkage with the business level. So the Six Sigma is a not bottoms up approach; it is a top driven approach. So the projects has to be identified from the top. So as you can see, vision, mission, objectives. So when you take up any project or business level, operation level, process level problem, you must be very clear if I am doing something, how it is important and how it is linked with my business level problem. So the most important thing, and to make your output more effective, you have to have that linkage established so that you make an impact for an organization. That is most important, which is emphasized in Six Sigma to identify a project. So why all this is important? Because generally, if you go in an industry, you have not probably seen much of an industry, but there are always teams which work in different silos. So what is important is to look at the process on end-to-end basis. Now you look at the picture, which is an official winner of a Not My Job contest. So the probably people are working in the silos in the organization. So to bring in an effectiveness at organization level or end-to-end level, the Six Sigma methodology is most important. And for that effectiveness, it is very important that projects are triggered in a systematic manner as vision, mission, objective, or by business organization, operational issues or process issues like that. So the most important part of a Six Sigma project is what project you take up. You have to establish that it makes sense for my organization, it makes sense for my owner, it makes sense for my director, that yes, if I do this, this thing is going to improve. That is what is very important in a Six Sigma project. So it may happen that you have several projects in line, and there may be a problem that how I prioritize those projects. So this is one of the matrix that I have developed to prioritize the projects. Again, this is not an hard and fast rule that you should use A, B, C, all these E criteria. You can drop out if you required, your organization doesn't meet criteria A, you can drop it out, or E, you can drop it out. So, but when we talk about the Six Sigma, it is not an intuition, it is always by numbers. So when I have 100 number of problems, why I am particularly working on these two problems, that has to come by some number, by some logic. And that is why to have that some logic, I have to have some metric, some tool. So that is what is I'm sharing with you, a change prioritization matrix. So how does it works? So if you have a project, the listed projects, maybe 100 projects, probably you will rate them on a criteria, different criteria. What is the criteria A? It talks about the statutory compliance. So if it is no, then you will rate it as 1, and if it is yes, then it is 9. It may happen that you are not, this criteria A is not relevant for your project. You can drop that. If you are working at the plant level, you can only adopt 4 criteria. So probably criteria B is how much is the benefit. So from 0 to 50 lakhs, 50 to 100 lakhs, and more than 100 lakhs. Or it also depends on the organization, scale of the organizations. If the scale of the organization is bigger, you can still have that as an 1 crore, 1 to 50 crore, 50 to 100 crore, etc. Then the third important criteria is time for implementation. It may happen that you are saving more than 100 crores, more than 100 lakhs or 1 crore, but the time required is more than 1 year. And there are 3 more projects which are having a 50 lakhs of benefits, but will be completed in just last 3 months. So your whole scenario or criteria, based on criteria, your outcome changes. That is why means we can also have an approach of picking up low hanging fruits which are important and which are easy to implement or easy to win, etc. So it is to take care of these. Then the probability of the success. So how is the probability? It is low, medium, or high. Your project is fantastic, but the probability of success is difficult. Then you can rate it that way. Then ease of operation, low, medium, high, because there is something which you are going to change in the process very easily, difficult, or very, very difficult. And then you can rate it as an 9. So if you multiply that all, there will be one number which is coming up. Who has an highest rating will probably your best choice of a project, which will be having a maximum impact. That is how in Six Sigma methodology, we take decisions based on the data. And that is how I have shown you a matrix which will help you to prioritize your projects. So there is another methodology which is also
Sir,
yes.
what is meant by statutory compliance? Something there.
Statutory compliance means you are not following an environmental law, norms. Suppose you have some plant and you are releasing a chlorine which is high in ppm in atmosphere. So is it dealing with that? Yes or no? So there are certain guidelines given by a government, and it is important to fulfill this as a project. Then probably it is yes, and if it is not, then you can show it as a no. Okay, have I answered you?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So basically it is related to a guidelines of an government which are required to run the plant. Okay, so probably in today's scenario, you can call it as an environmental guidelines, release of an toxic material, release of an material to the rivers, etc., etc. So we talked about 2 approaches, that is vision mission. Third is BPM. There's another approach which is called as an Malcolm-Baldrige model approach. So what is important in this? Actually, this is the Malcolm-Baldrige Award in US is an birthplace of an Six Sigma. So I'll shortly tell you the story of this. So if you go back and look at the era of 1985 or 87, the US market was facing a lot of problem because of Japanese products. And the citizens of US were purchasing Japanese products and not giving preference to the American products. And the Japanese products has dominated the American market like anything. Now, how do we overcome this issue? That is what is a thought process which went across in US. And Malcolm-Baldrige, who was a senator that time, he came out with an approach. And he said there are 6 major areas or main areas where every organization need to improve. Of course, 7th is result, and he showed the picture how they are interrelated, etc. But there are 6 areas where every organization has to work, and if they improve their performance in these 6 areas, definitely the results will come, and the quality of the products, the process, what we call excellence of the US, the performance excellence or the process excellence of the US companies will go up, and with that going up or improved effectiveness of an organization, the US companies will be able to compete with the Japanese products in the market. So he brought in this concept, and he said that these are the 7 criteria. Based on that, the company should perform, and he made it mandatory for all the American companies to get this certification. So how the process goes, there are a team of an examiners who will come to your organization, stay for three days, go through your everything. So if I say leadership, so what are exactly your leadership is doing, how they are involved in day-to-day activities, how they are contributing, how they are planning their strategies, etc., etc. They will go and look for an evidence actually on the shop floor, and then as a team, this is a team which comes for an checking up or examination. The team will give you what are your strong points, and also they will give you what are the areas where the organization can improve, and it is an 50-60 pages report. And if the organization really wants to improve, they can take an external help and look at their own processes from a third party and improve their processes, and the excellence or the performance of the organization will go up. That is what was an thought process of an Malcolm Bajaj, and he was successful in achieving that also, and he made it mandatory for all the American companies to have this certification mandatory. Now, one of the important thing what he introduced in this is that whoever organization wins this certificate or this medal has to share with all the participating companies that what he has done differently. And in 1987, when Motorola won this Malcolm Bajaj Award, while sharing with all other organizations, they shared that we have come out with a Six Sigma methodology, which will help us to reduce our defects. So when Motorola started it, it was about the defects. Or this is a methodology which helped us to improve our processes, improve our customer satisfaction, etc. And that is how that is why I said this is what is the birthplace of an Six Sigma. When they said it in 87, the world come to know that there is one methodology which has been formed, and then there were changes done in that methodology going forward by different organizations. I will share you with that history also. When what was the original Motorola methodology, then what GE did, and what other Toyota and other companies did to have a final version of it. But this is what is a birthplace. Malcolm Bajaj Award is a birthplace of Six Sigma. Now, if we talk about in India, there is a similar model which is available in India also. That is what is called as a Ramkrishna Bajaj National Quality Award. It exactly works on the same principles of Malcolm Bajaj Award. But nowadays also Malcolm Bajaj Award is also not mandatory in US, and we don't have also RBNQA award mandatory in India. So whoever organization wants to look at their processes or want to have a review of their processes or want to review their capabilities, they apply for this, and the team of examiners go and look at their processes and give them what are the improvement areas and what are their strong points. That is how this system goes. And one of the organization among the Indian participating organization is then awarded as a prize. So this is how the Malcolm Bajaj Award, which is also done in India. So if we look at that, when we talk about all these performances, we always talk about the numbers or KPIs. or key performance indicator at each level. So if we talk about those key performance indicator, every key performance indicator which is not having an satisfaction with an business objective is a project to improve. So if we want to take on Six Sigma project, wherever our performance is below satisfaction, but this is with an standard methodology, we can take up that as a project. Like that, the projects are also triggered off for an Six Sigma. So once now we have a projects, now we have a teams. Now there are different approaches also, which also run parallelly like in Six Sigma. So what are these? You must have heard the word Pdca. So again, if we talk about this, it is not like that the vision, mission and objective is not right and the BPM is right. So it is the way organization perceived. Nobody is right and nobody is wrong. So if any organization feels that we should be doing BPM, then they can go with BPM. It is not like that they don't have, they are not doing something or they are doing something wrong. So similarly in this methodology also, what is important is improvement, metric improvement. So there are various methods available also to improve the metric. One of these is called as a Pdca. It is also called as a Deming cycle. So plan, do, check, track, plan, do, check, track. You continue doing, keep doing this. And if we look at this all, it is not a rocket science. It is a simple steps, the way somebody will approach a problem. So probably it is a definition of the problem, capture data, analyze data, identify cause, planning countermeasures, implement, confirmation, standardization, and control. So it is based on a common sense, but it is important that how religiously you are following these steps and come to a root cause. And what is important in Six Sigma or any improvement methodology, the cause of the problem, the root cause of the problem has been found out, and that has been addressed. So there will be a apparent causes and root causes. So what is our address is to address and root cause, which will eliminate the reoccurrence of the event. That is most important. So we are interested really in reducing the reoccurrence of the event. So any event which has happened should not reoccur in the future. And you must have heard this. We use 5 why, 1H. That is what, when, why, etc. and how. So this is one of the methodology which is called as an Pdca. The second methodology, or there are very common methodologies which is said as the 4D. Again, if you are a consultant who is more familiar with the Pdca, he will suggest you do the improvement projects using a Pdca. Then the second one is 4D method, that is discover, design, develop, deploy. There is also 8D approach, which is very popular in a Ford Motor Company. They say we do everything using an 8D methodology. So these are again, so if you look at the Pdca, 4D, 8D or Six Sigma, there is nothing different. It all based on a common sense. But what is important and what makes difference in Six Sigma, that I will explain you again. So if we come to an Six Sigma, it talks about the define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. Okay, so there are 5 steps in this. What is define, what is measure, analyze, improve, we'll look at as we go across in our sessions. Okay, so basically, again, what is Six Sigma methodology approaches tells you. What is the define? So what is the define phase is define the problem in terms of what is wrong. So we'll look at in detail. So at this moment it looks pretty simple in very simple English, that what is the problem. Then when we measure what is the current performance, or we rather call it as what is my current capability of the process. Okay, so if I more talk statistically, I will say what is the capability of your process, etc. But it is nothing but an current performance of your process. Then the next is analyze the situation to establish a root cause. The most important thing is we must address the root cause. Then improve by implementing a countermeasures. Sometimes it is very easy. You find out a correlation and improve only just parameter or adjust only just parameter and we improve the process. It depends. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens that you do not come across any particular parameter which is having an impact with your Y, and then you keep on optimizing your process. The tools are also available for that. That is called as a design of experiment. And if we improve something, the most important is that we need to have a process to maintain that and avoid the prevent the reoccurrence of the event. So what is important in control phase is that look, what is happening? My child is writing a good handwriting when I am present. So it is not an intent of an Six Sigma project. The intent of an Six Sigma project is my child should write in good handwriting even if I am not present. So that is what I exactly mean by an control phase. So we have to have a process in place, and the process such that it works with a system or a process change, so that the output will come automatically. That is what I mean when I say I implement, define, measure, analyze, or control. So it is rather the jargon can be the product by process. So what is important in Six Sigma methodology is our emphasis is not in monitoring, but our emphasis is in improving the product system or a process. So if you improve the system or the process, then probably your outcome is bound to have a consistency. And what we are interested in, that improved consistency of an product or improved consistency of the process. So the emphasis is, I will give you an examples as we go across. So this is what is important. So we are not interested in short-term solution or corrective action. So there are two types of actions which can be taken, which is called as a corrective action and preventive action. So what is corrective action is just to make sure that you have adjusted something. Okay, so your reactor output is not performing in your terminology. So my product is not coming up, or there is some issue in specification of the product. So what you have done, I have adjusted the RPM of the motor. So what is this? This is an corrective action. What you have done to have an immediate effect. The what could be a Six Sigma approach would be have a preventive action so that it will not go out. And that is what is the approach we generally follow in Six Sigma, to get a preventive solution or a preventive action so that we avoid the reoccurrence of the event. That is most important and which is emphasized in Six Sigma. So going forward, this particular slide will explain you how Six Sigma methodology works. So basically, it is not like that we don't solve problems, or there are so many people working in the organization at various levels, production manager level, or they don't solve the problems. So everybody who is working in the organization try to solve the problems. Even you can take your own example that you must have solved some problems in your previous years, etc. But what is different in Six Sigma? This particular one side will explain you. So the Six Sigma methodology talks about the equation, which is y is equal to x1, x2, x3, xn. So whole of the methodology is revolving around this equation. So what we call in this equation y as, so y is an effect. So y is an effect of something which is going wrong as an x1, x2, x3. And what we try to do when we are defining a problem, first two stages, there are 5 stages: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. So when we start up a project, what we try to find out, what is the effect, what is my problem is. When I define, and measure the baseline of the solution, or what is my present potential, present capability of the process, my focus is on why. So probably when we talked about methodology, about the KPIs, business level problems, production level problems, or process level problems, so we are talking about the why. And why effect is happening, there are several reasons for that. Okay, so we say those as an potential excess. So when we start up any project, there are several tools to identify what are my potential excess in the process. So we identify all those potential excess in the process. Now, once I have those all potential excess, probably 70, 80, I have done one project where my potential excess were 160. So reasons. And then I funnel it out using the tools in analyze phase, maybe a basic quality tool, statistical tools, FMEA, value stream mapping, waste identification. So what are these? These are all tools which help me to screen these excess and arrive at my vital excess. So what is the methodology is identifying potential excess with an open mind, then screening those excess to identify vital excess, and then only control those vital excess or improve those vital excess to get an improvement. So when we generally implement Six Sigma, what do we say? In Six Sigma, we control excess and monitor Y. So it is not like that we control Y. So Y is our wish that it should have a good effect. Now what we do, we try to identify you Y related how many potential excess, screen those excess and only control those 3-4 excess so that my Y will automatically come. That is what is in whole methodology. So I will give you a very simple example and how it typically it is very makes a relevance in an organization or an industry. So I have a background. I have worked in operation plant, polyester operation plants for almost 23 years. So suppose there is some problem in polyester plant. The yield is low, or there are frequent breaks are happening while winding. So it is obvious after spending 22 years or 23 years in and plant and at the level of production manager, I will know some reasons. So I want to understand the reason why there are breaks. So breaks per turn or something like that. And when the reasons are asked to me, I say I need to increase the temperature. Okay. So this is what is one of the X now. Okay, so I said we should increase the temperature. The same question is asked to a young engineer who has just passed out from UDCT or some good chemical engineering college, having only 2-3 years of experience. Now compare, there is a person who has 23 years experience and I have only 2-3 years of experience. The same question is being asked, why is this happening? With his technical knowledge or background, something like that, he says we need to adjust the pH of the process. Okay, so there are two excess which are coming up, which is one is said by a production manager, which is temperature, and another which is said by pH, which is by a young engineer. Now, in a typical industry, what is happening? What we implement, generally what the production manager says, veto power always works, muscle power always works. So he implement the temperature, and it is not like that. He has 23 years of experience, so naturally he has some knowledge about the process. So after adjusting temperature, the problem get reduced or the effect improves to the extent something. So if that extent it improves, then he proudly said that देख मैं बोल रहा था ना temperature adjust करो हो जाएगा, and we continue with that status quo only. So what is challenge in Six Sigma is you also look at what is happening, the effect of an pH. Now, it may happen that after adjusting a temperature, we are getting an improvement to the tune of 30%. It may happen that if I adjust my pH, it may get improvement to 60%. But what is happening in traditional problem solving, that we don't explore that at all. So what is an objective of an Six Sigma methodology is to have an best results, so that somebody who is coming next should not take up a project on the same subject and should identify or arrive at few different axes. So whenever you are selecting the potential axis, you have to think of an all potential reasons. Why my performance is low, why I am getting late to the office, why I am reaching late to the college. So typically what happens, it is not like that we don't solve the problems, but we solve the problems where we know the solutions. And exactly Six Sigma challenges that. The Six Sigma says you have a problem, take up that problem without knowing the solutions. Or even if you know that solutions, try to identify a broader view and identify all the excess in the process. And not with an subjective analysis that मैं बोल रहा हूं ना, देख ऐसा ही होगा. It is not like that. When you are screening from an potential excess to an vital excess, you must have some statistical tool use, some data use. It should not be an intuition that is saying that this is the X which is making an impact. That is what is most important in Six Sigma. So whenever we review any project, so we always try to identify how you have identified potential excess, and from those potential excess, how you have screened the vital excess. So that you don't give any chance, ye time aisa ho gaya. That is not a chance you can take in Six Sigma. Your solution has to be perfect, and perfect means you have to justify that with an correlation analysis, FMEA, some statistical tools. And if you use this data-driven tool, your decision will be always right. So like I said earlier, you may gain some improvement by changing a temperature, but you will not get the best out of it. So that best has to be explored when you explore all the potential excess. That is what is the most important thing, and these slides explain you whole of the Six Sigma, how methodology works. So how it is different than your traditional problem solving. Even if you are solving traditional, doing a problem solving by traditional method, it is very important that you should have a broader view to identify all your potential excess. So I will explain you as we go further how the potential excess are found out. There are various tools which are used to find out the potential excess. Then how the tools will be used to screen those potential excess to the vital excess. But what is emphasized is we have to have a perfect solution which will prevent the reoccurrence of the event, and it should address process or a system so that the change is permanent. It is not only that I will monitor that, I will look at that. So even if you have to maintain temperature of a reactor at some level, it is not like that the shift engineer will keep on monitoring that. It is by process or by method that it will automatically stay at that and will be maintained at that level. That is what is most important as an Six Sigma process takeaway. Okay, so hang हो गया. एक मिनट है, हिमांशु हैंग हो गया. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, sorry, कुछ एक्टिविटी नहीं हुआ तो वो हैंग हो जाता है थोड़ा. तो this is how the roadmap of Six Sigma is. I always say it is a very structured methodology. So if there are various methodologies which you come across for an improvement like Pdca, 4D, 8D, Six Sigma, but what Six Sigma makes the difference is shown on an earlier slide, that you have to have an perfect potential excess and preventive causes, preventing causes, that will make the difference. Again, okay. So this is DMA-IC roadmap. So in Six Sigma methodology, everything has been clearly written down. Rather, I jokingly say sometimes, you answer 15 questions, you will get your project completed. Okay, so there are simple questions which are being answered. So structured methodology that in a defined phase, what you are expected, what is the deliverable of a defined phase. It is clearly mentioned as a part of a 3 questions. Then measure, analyze, improve. So very structured methodology, which tool to use in a defined phase, which tool to use in a major phase. The guidelines are prepared, etc., etc. So this is one of the way it is being shown what you will do in a defined phase, what you will do in a major phase, analyze phase, improve and control. This is what we call it as a roadmap. So this is very structured methodology. So that is what is one of the important aspect why the Six Sigma methodology is preferred over the others. Now, it is very important to have a perfect methodology or very structured methodology. To slightly give an example, if you are planning a tour, you are going to Leh and Ladakh, and you go, there will be number of travel agents which are available in market. So if you go to one of the travel agent who will give you in a very structured way where you will stay, where you will reach, where you will have a breakfast, what breakfast you will be served, etc., etc., you will always like that and have a comfort that yes, this gentleman or this particular travel agent looks to be good and he is more structured, he is giving me every information. Like that, the Six Sigma is over the other methodologies. It gives you an very structured methodology which gives you an every step, and if you answer those 15 questions, your project gets completed. That is how I say jokingly. So why Six Sigma works basically? So Six Sigma works because of an bottom line and profitability improvements. As I kept on saying since our beginning, that we must have an project which has a linkage with a business objective. Now, if you look at, there are various examples, proven examples in an industry. GE, Honeywell, Dow Chemical, they have earned a lot of money using a Six Sigma methodology or implement or deploying a Six Sigma methodology. The punchline or important, what is important is it should improve a bottom line. Bottom line means profitability. It should reflect in books of accounts what you are improving or gaining. So the most important thing is bottom line improvement, and it depends on how you are selecting the projects. If you go with a structured methodology of vision, mission, or BPM or something like that, definitely your projects will be more impactful and will increase the bottom line or a profitability. The second very important aspect is a focus on customer requirement. So in Six Sigma methodology, the customer is prime, and it is not like that only the external customer is considered as an important. So what is the emphasis which is being given in the Six Sigma is an external or internal customer also. So what is my next process? Because probably what happens, there are very less number of KPIs which are related to an external customer. If you are, suppose, MEG plant, so or PTA or something like that, so let us call it a different LLDP or LDP plant. So what are the specifications of LDP or LLDP that are being seen by an external customer? But what about the next process? So what is important is the next process is my customer, and what is required by my next process has to be catered by an first process. That is what is emphasized in Six Sigma. So what is the customer requirement? And when we calculate the process capability of the process, it is also based on the requirement of the customer. So what does the customer wants, and are we able to fulfill those requirements of the customer? And we calculate the capability based on his requirements. That is most important. And means everything, we calculate the capability, we improve the capability, which is all related to customer requirement. Then it is a very sound statistical and disciplined approach. As I said in the early slide, it is disciplined approach. Very statisticals. When you use, if you look or recall a funnel slide, I have been also mentioning that you should have an statistical tools to narrow down from your potential causes to an vital causes, so that you really address or really identify a critical cause and improve same. What is the confidence in that, or what is a gain for any organization, that if you improve anything, it sustains. So the organizations are always interested in sustaining the gains, and if those excess which are found out with a statistical and disciplined approach, probability the improvement that you bring in will sustain. That is what is an approach. It is always a data-driven culture. As I have given you an example, so the data speaks. If data is showing that some X is significant, then it is significant. As I gave you an example of my own example of a production manager and adjusting a temperature and pH, like that. So that is why I say why Six Sigma works. But that is why many people who think that they are technically best, they don't like this methodology, because every decision by them is also challenged by data. And the black belt or probably a green belt who knows these tools probably can arrive at that which is the best X, and no technical person or the input from a technical person makes that sense. That is why many of the technical people, they don't like this methodology. Okay, clearly define the measure of success. It is metric driven. So I said when we start up a project, we talk about an effect, that is Y, which is measurable. So whether it is customer satisfaction, enjoying a day, anything, I have to convert that into a numbers, and that number speaks. If that number is improved and changed statistically, I say my project is successful. ठीक हो गया, अच्छा था, doesn't have a sense in Six Sigma. So I take up any project, I improved certain thing, I improve the yield, which was 92, I improved it to 95, my data speaks. If that 92 to 95 is statistically different, there are tools to look at that. If that is proved that the improvement is statistically different than what you was your baseline, then we call it as a project as a success. Okay, so it clearly defines whether the process has improved or not improved. There are only two options. Then as I have been saying from the beginning, it encourages team culture. People come together to solve the problem. Group of people solve the problem, and that encourages the team culture. That is what is most important. Then improves employee engagement. Since if any process is improved, or it is encouraged or recognized by your management, the employee improves employee engagement. In the organization, many of the times the teams complete their improvement projects, and they are asked to share their projects in an outside forum like process excellence awards, etc., etc. So when they participate, this has been my experience in my career also. So if as a quality leader, so if the employee has been given a chance or a team is given a chance to present what they have done to an external forum, they get a pride in that and their employee engagement increases. Then the most important thing is infrastructure of and trained individuals. So it is a culture of the organization which changes. Now there will be people who will be black belt, green belt, and looking at that, if you have a culture of an Six Sigma in your organization, probably people will talk about the data, not by thoughts, not by some subjective methods, etc., or intuitional. I feel like that. So everywhere people, if they are trained in this methodology, they will talk with the data, and then the outcome of the organization, of the effectiveness of the organization goes up. When I say infrastructure of and trained individuals, once you go across this green belt or a black belt course, once a black belt, always a black belt, he thinks any improvement in this fashion only. So he will again say what is a define, what is measure, etc., etc. So we will appreciate when we really go what are those steps. But it is very important to have an infrastructure of and trained individuals. Let me give you a simple example. Suppose there are few people in an organization, few of them don't know swimming, and few of them know swimming. Now there is a boat, and one who knows swimming is also riding the boat, and one who don't know the swimming is also riding the boat. Now the ultimately what is happening, the boat will cross the river. Now I will give you on a stamp paper in a writing that boat will not topple, but even then, who will be more confident? The person who knows swimming is more confident, and that is what is being achieved in this whole methodology. Is if you have a trained people, definitely the people will come forward to solve the problem. They will come forward to take up the problems, and that is what is an biggest gain for an organizations. That I have said in my next slide, that every problem has two solutions. One is bhag lo or bhag lo. So the one bhag lo is run away, and the second bhag lo is participate. So if you have people, those who are trained in methodology, those who know some statistical tools, probably they will come forward and participate that, yes, sir, I want to take up this problem. Let me check up my statistical tools, whether my Six Sigma training makes any sense or not. And I will accept that problem. I will participate, come forward and take up that problem. That is what is the most important benefit of deploying or having a Six Sigma infrastructure ready with the people like a black belt, green belt, etc. Okay, so simply, what is Six Sigma defined as? A disciplined method of using data gathering and statistical analysis to pinpoint the sources of errors and identifies ways of eliminating them. So it is talking of eliminating the causes or sources of errors. So again, eliminating the causes of mistakes or defects. So what is very most important? The Dr. Michael Hari, who is an architect of an Six Sigma methodology. When Motorola got an Malcolm Baldrige Award, he was part of an Motorola, and he is one of the pillar that time to implement a Six Sigma methodology. And he says that eliminate causes of mistakes or defects, so that your why will automatically will come. That is what is most important in this. So we always talk about the Six Sigma also talks about a perfect process. So what is a perfect process means? It has to be valuable. So delivers value to the customer, that is waste free. So when I was talking about earlier, make your process fast, that is what is waste free. So probably we are using lean tools. It has to be capable, so deliver quality, reduce variation. Probably statistical tools, 7QC tools, advanced tools. Has to be available, so source resources and equipment availability, zero breakdowns. The concept is used called as a total productive maintenance. It has to be adequate. So freedom of constraints or theory of constraints. So the market or the customer requires 180 tons of MEG per day, and my reactor is not capable of producing more than 150, then I have a constraint of an high throughput. So I have to address it using a theory of constraint. And there is very important aspect which is nowadays very important, which is called as an flexible, quick response to the market, and the concept which is called as a single minute exchange of die. So this is very this makes a very relevance within today's automotive industry, because we have so many models which are coming up out of Maruti, Mahindra, Kia, Hyundai, Honda, etc. So what is this? This is a concept which was implemented by Toyota and Ford. So it is a single minute exchange of die. Basically, you must be able to change your products within a minute or a single digit minute. Means maximum within 9 minutes you should be able to change over your model from Baleno to XL6, like that. That is what is called as a flexible process, and it is driven by a market requirement. So however the market requirements, you will be able to change that, and if you have that flexibility in the process, your productivity will go up, your unnecessary inventory will not lock up, you will produce that only which is sellable in the market. That is what is means. So it is about the perfect process. So the strive is of the Six Sigma. The Six Sigma is a bigger umbrella where we address all these to get a perfect process. That is what is an objective. So when do we call an organization as a Six Sigma organization? So again, when we talk about the Six Sigma, it all talks about the numbers. So it talks about that 6 to 10% of the bottom line coming from an Six Sigma projects. So basically, only 6 to 10% of the projects. So 95% is technical. The add-on effect, which is 5%. So what is if some company is saying that my 100% of the profits are coming through a Six Sigma, they are basically doing something wrong. So what is important, that out of their profit, only 5 to 10% of the project profit should come from the Six Sigma project. That is most important. That is what is the Six Sigma methodology don't challenge their technical knowledge. So what is being said is your 95% is technical, and that add-on effect is 5%, which is a cherry on the ice cream, and that should come from an Six Sigma projects. So if you look at any competition in Olympics, 100-meter, there is very neck-to-neck difference. So who wins? Who probably has that edge over advantage? And that edge over advantage should come from an Six Sigma projects, not every basic system. Not that the MEG manufacturing process should also come from Six Sigma. So Six Sigma is not like for that. Six Sigma is to improve the performance, improve the bottom line wherever there is a problem, and that edge on factor or edge on others should come from an Six Sigma. That is what is emphasized in when we call it as a Six Sigma organization. Your 5 to 10% of the population should be black belt or master black belt. Then 40 to 50% of the population should be green belt. So this is a cultural aspect. So if you have 50% of your population, 50 or 10 plus 60% of the population, they are relevant, having a relevant knowledge of an Six Sigma, probably they will all talk about the data-driven process. They will always talk, or they will always analyze the problem using a data, tools, etc. And that will change the culture of the organization, effectiveness of the organization. That is what is it mean. All the HODs, the senior people should have a knowledge of Six Sigma. So champions are HODs. Generally, HODs are called head of the plant managers, etc. They are called champions because they are beneficiary of all these improvement projects. They should know outline of the Six Sigma, but it is not like that they should know every tool and everything. Okay, so all HODs are champions. They should know how to use Six Sigma for an improvement projects. Then stream of projects which are in pipeline. So as I said, you must have 150. These are the things which need to be done. That is what is I mean by a pipeline. You may prioritize using a matrix, but you should have a stream where you should know that these things I have to do to be a CEO of the organization, like that. Then HR policies aligned with the Six Sigma deployment. There are few companies in India and abroad also where Six Sigma HR policies are aligned with the deployment. As I gave you an example, GE, there used to be, if you are not a green belt, you can't go beyond certain level in the organization. Similarly, in Motorola also, if you are not an black belt, their yardstick was a black belt, GE's yardstick was a green belt. I will come to that when we go forward. But there are certain steps that certain certifications, if you have not done those certifications, probably you will not rise above a certain level in the organization. GE, Motorola, then Kirloskar Cummins in India, TVS, like these are the examples where everything is linked with an HR policy. And then Six Sigma effort is self-sustaining without an external help. Means you have already created a MBB, BBs in your organization and they are taking care of mentoring GBs. This means that the effort is self-sustaining without any external help. So there is also expertise to spread Six Sigma culture to its suppliers. Now, if you look at a Tata Motors especially, they always help their suppliers to implement Six Sigma. Now, what is the advantage is then? Naturally, if their suppliers are implementing Six Sigma, the quality of their products will go up. And once the quality of their product goes up, if they are using those products in their car, the quality of Tata Motors will go up. That is what is being established. Probably the quality control checks required or not required, etc., etc. But they are ensuring by spreading the culture to suppliers to ensure our quality is right. That is how. If some organization is doing this, is called as an Six Sigma organization. So there are few examples or few practitioners internationally and then India also. So GE, Dow Chemicals, Toyota Motors, then in India, L&T, Wipro, Tata Motors. Nowadays, Six Sigma is very popular in IT industry also. So why IT industry? Because most of the IT industry works with an external clients, which are set up in Western or European countries or US, etc. So if they get an basic feeling that this particular problem is solved using Six Sigma, they have a feeling that the prevention is done and the solution which is implemented will definitely improve the capability of the process. Based on that, today TCS, Infosys, the Six Sigma is most popular. We move on to the developments in Six Sigma. We'll have a short break of 7 to 10 minutes. Right now, what is this? What is the time? It is 17:59. We restart at 6:10. Will that be okay?
Yes, sir.
We have a short
Okay,
break.
sir.
Okay. Hmm? So what's up? So shall we start? Himanshu, Rushikesh.
Yes, sir. You can
Yes.
start.
Okay. So welcome back. So this is how the developments of Six Sigma has taken place. So as I said, in the era of 1985, the Six Sigma methodology was brought to the world by Motorola after they got the Malcolm Baldrige Award. So when they started the concept, it is only the black belt which was in their mind. And this is how I say generation 1, generation 2, generation 3, how Six Sigma has evolved over the period, over the years, and how the changes have been taking place, etc. So when they imply, again, as I said earlier, uh, this methodology is wrong and this is right, it is not the approach. It is the way organization perceived. So when the Motorola implement the methodology, what probably they have in mind that only aspect of an black belt. So how it was being done? So they used to identify the people in the organizations. Like Motorola was in big organizations. So to give you a similar example, probably you will appreciate if a manufacturing site, we have a different manufacturing site, like Reliance has a different manufacturing sites, like in Maharashtra, Pataganga, Nagotna, in Gujarat, Hazira or Surat, then Vadodara, Dahej, and Jamnagar. And in Jamnagar also there are 3-4 sites, that is refinery 1, refinery 2, or hydrocarbon complex, etc. So what Motorola tried to do, I'm just giving an example of how Motorola did it. So they identified 2-3 people from each site and form a group of 20-25 people across the organization, various verticals, various businesses, etc. And start giving them training to the level of an black belt. Now, what was the concept there was an full-time black belt. So one who is identified based on his previous work background, so how his performance was. So best people were given for an Six Sigma. So once those 25 people were identified, very systematically, Six Sigma Motorola take them through various courses, statistical tools, etc. 15 days course like that, and then they conducted exam for them, saying as a black belt certification. So Motorola established, going forward, Motorola established a university also, which certifies a black belt certification, etc. So what was the concept? When you are in that role of an black belt, you will take up an improvement projects for your site, for your business, etc. The concept is in wing to wing projects, that is global. And you will, as a part of the process, when you are a black belt, you will get certification through your training, complete 3-4 high impact projects, mentor or conduct training for green belts and mentor 10-15 green belts. Once that period is over and these all accomplishments are over, then you go back to a normal process and somebody else will come from that plant. Like that, they kept on rotating for various years. Now Motorola is closed down, but till they closed down from 2005, from 1985-87 onwards, for 30 years they continued that concept. And the idea was to improve the capability of an every individual or cover maximum number of people. So Motorola was having 50% of their population which was black belt, and which makes a huge cultural difference. Uh, and the people at Motorola always talk about the data, etc., etc. So that is how they started it, and their emphasis was on defects. So basically, what was their first project? Their first project was to reduce defects in pagers. So you may not be knowing or might have not seen the pagers also. Our generation has seen those pagers. So with the coming up of so many cell phones, mobile phones, the pagers are outdated, and their project was to reduce the defects in those pagers. So what was Motorola's emphasis was to have more of an statistical tools to improve their processes. Now, uh, uh, now completing any project is not only understanding of an statistical tools, but it also requires various other aspects like leadership, team building, etc., etc. So, what during a deployment of an G2, what G thought that why, if it is such a good process, why I am restricting only to a few number of people in the organization. So what Jack Walsh did, is he made it open for all, and then he said it will not be a global, means end to end. We'll just focus on operational issues or process issues. That is how it has become a regional issue. And then his emphasis was on cost, because Jack Walsh wanted to convert a loss-making company to a profit-making company. That he has achieved through a deployment of Six Sigma also. So what was his emphasis was, I want results, boss. Every individual employee who is working in a G should complete 2 or 3 projects. So he made it mandatory to get his incentives, yearly incentives also, that one who is working at G, to get his yearly incentives, he should complete 2 or 3 improvement projects. And once you showcase those improvement projects using a methodology where you will really show that my process has statistically improved and my cost has reduced, you are eligible for that increment. That is how he kept it open for all. Now look at the synergy what he has created. Now it was only to a few people in the organizations, like 20-25 people in the organization. What Jack Walsh said, every individual, there were 5,000 employees that time in GE, and every individual who is working in GE has to complete the improvement projects. And now imagine, every employee, there are 5,000 employees, every employee is completing 3 projects, so there will be 15,000 processes which will be improved, and your cost will get reduced, or your processes will improve, and as an overall the organization will improve or not. That is what he achieved. Now look at this G experience. Jack was not an Six Sigma or a statistics fellow, but he understood how to use Six Sigma as a management philosophy, and he implemented that as an manager or a leader to gain a maximum improvement of processes, or reducing the cost, or rather rather converting a loss making organization to a profit making organization. uh, that is what G is. So this is what is in second generation. So we earlier we were having a black belts where the scope was global. Then when a second generation where the scope has narrowed down to a green belt where the scope is regional and the emphasis was on cost. And now around the era of 2000, the evolution of lean, DuPont, Toyota, etc., the focus is on local process and increase the value of the process so that it is useful for the next process. So it is shoot at sight sort of an generation 3 projects, generation 3 type in Six Sigma projects. So it changed again. Nobody is right, nobody is wrong. That is the way the organizations pursued. But the emphasis today is on value, and it has changed from quality to cost, cost to value. So value, when you talk about the value, it takes care of everything. Now, what is value means? So it is very difficult to write down and rather in English, what is value is. So what I tried to write down is satisfaction is equal to expectation minus experience. So there is a gap between experience and expectation, and which reduces the satisfaction. So value is something related to that, and it is trade-off between a quality and cost. So if I give you an example, when we go to a restaurant, uh, after having a dinner or lunch, we get a bill of an, suppose I get of a bill of an 2233 rupees. So the first question when I get a bill, I ask is whether this is worth it. So it is not related to quality. So it is cost, trade-off between cost and quality. So means if you go to any ordinary hotel, or we always have a chai tapri, tea at tapri. So if you look at that, what it is not that it is quality, but what we pay for that chai at tapri, and we haven't trade off that, we say it is a good quality because we pay only 10 rupees and get a chai, and we are happy with that quality. But if suppose if the same quality you get at Taj or Oberoi or some five-star hotel, and you pay 1000 rupees for that, you may not be happy. So it is a trade-off between, but the same tea, if it is served at tapri, you are happy. So it is, the value is what? Value is a trade-off between quality and cost. Was the experience worth it? And based on that, we say that the value is created or value is not created. Now, if you look at the processes also, there are many customers in the market. They are waiting for our plants to produce a subsidiary product, and they are eagerly waiting to grab that opportunity to purchase that subsidiary product, which is second rate product in the market, LDP, LLDP, polyester plants, etc., etc. So probably what is it? It is not the quality, first quality, but for that quality, what cost they pay, and they feel that there is a value for it. So this is what is called a value. So whenever in Japanese terminology or Japanese philosophy, whenever any person comes to an organization, either he puts value or produces waste. So what are those different types of waste we will come across when we actually take up the lean tools. But somebody who is coming to an organization, how he can produce value or improve value for an organization is in three ways. Is a physical transformation, problem solving or process improvement, or documentation and information. It is not like that the workers who are actually involved in loading, unloading of the trucks or loading of a final product, etc., are not creating value. They are also creating a value at their level by a physical transformation of the product. There are a few people working at a supervisory level who are qualified engineers, etc. They probably look for a problem solving or improving the processes so that the physical transformation works become easy and more productive, like that. And there are other type of people who are only basically documenting the processes, or documenting the things, or sending information to the government, creating information. Like we generally have an HR department who keeps watch on a timelines of the people, employees coming to the office and going back to the office. So based on that, probably they are giving you a salary. That is what is an information value is being maintained. So if we come to an organization, or any person comes to an organization, probably he creates a value for an, or adds, the nature of the value addition can be in these three forms: physical transformation, problem solving, or documentation information. Now this is a good example of an value. So many of the times at the signal we see a clock like this. Now if I ask you a question whether this adds value, so many 100% of the people will say yes, this adds value. Now look at this. By having this clock, my signal doesn't change from red to green early, or from something like that. because I have a clock, my red signals or green signals turns early. It is not like that. So what I want to emphasize here, activity or an information which may not actually take part in the process, but even then also it is an value added information or an activity. So when we are looking at the value, what we have to look at all those aspects which are important for my process. So this clock is not actually taking a part in the process, but still add value to the process. That is what is most important point what I want to mention here. So based on that, this is how, if we summarize, the methodology is a very systematic methodology. It has got 5 steps called define, measure, analyze, improve. How the methodology works, as I explained to you in a funnel. At the top of the funnel, we have an potential reasons. Based on those potential reasons, I will also explain you how those potential reasons are found out. So basically, it is an equation y is equal to f x1, x2, x3. And when we are looking at that equation, we always talk about y. When we are talking about the y, we are talking about the define and measure phase. And as we proceed from left side to right side, for an potential reasons, we go to an analyze phase where we screen those reasons, and from those potential reasons we identify the critical reasons, critical excess, and work on those only critical excess. We establish a relationship between that y and x, and ensure that this is the x which is making most impact on my y, because we have to work smart. So we can't work on all the 100 x's. So what we try to choose, which are the x's which are having high impact. So if you have an exam tomorrow and you are not much prepared, and so what you will do? So probably you will look at the chapters which are having high weightage, and you know that this is the chapter with an high weightage. You establish a relationship that and work on that so that you get a maximum output. So similarly, what we are trying to do, we establish that relationship with the statistical tools or data-driven process, not by intuition, and work only on those excess to prevent the reoccurrence of the event. So moving to a next phase, that is what is called as a define phase of the concepts. So we'll look at the define phase charter and then we'll stop for today. Okay, so as I said, if you answer 15 questions, you will get your complete project completed. So the define phase has also 3 questions. So what are these 3 questions? So define phase is about formulating a practical problem. So if we look at the steps which are written in a box, which is a typical Six Sigma language, but what is written on the what is written below is what is in layman's language. So if the typical question a Six Sigma person will ask that step 1, identify your project CTQ. CTQ means what is critical to quality. So what you want to improve is called as an CTQ in the process, or a Six Sigma as well. So what is CTQ is what is important to my customer is my CTQ. So what I need to improve and what is important for my customer is my CTQ. That is what is this means. We'll see in detail how the CTQ is to be identified. Then step 2 is, once I know CTQ, develop a team charter. And what is my purpose and plan? So I, as a charter, I lay down a complete plan how my process will, what I'm going to do, what I'm going to consider, what I'm not going to consider. And the third step is define process map. How does my process look like? So generally what happens, whenever a black belt or a green belt project person who takes up the project, he may be convergent with the process, he may be from the process area or may not be from the process area. So even a third person who do not know anything about the process, he can follow these steps to get a knowledge about the process and get the project completed. So what is important for my customer? What is my purpose and plan, and how does my process look like? So as is process, how does the process look like now, that I am going to look at, and from that process map we will also try to understand how the excess are or potential excess are found out. So what is a defined phase? Is this is a picture from an old movie which is called as an Hera Fairy. The Baburao Apte is a character there, and in that movie he always used to say, "Teri samasya kya hai, boss?" So what we are trying to find out here is the same. Define the problem in terms of what is wrong. So define phase is to find out the samasya, what is the samasya in your process. So basically, who are the customer for this? So basically the customers are of two types. They look for an effectiveness of the process or efficiency of the process. Or nowadays it is also being checked as an adaptability of the process. The customer, who is customer? The customer is always the recipient of the product or services. I will give you a simple example. What is effectiveness and what is efficiency? The statements are like this: the degree to which you meet and exceed the customer needs and requirements. I'll give you a simple example. You are not graduates, of course, but when you will become a graduate, after getting your last exam passed, you will get an 1 degree certificate. You must have seen that degree certificates, which is not like an A3 paper. It is long and wide, a bigger paper. So you have that degree certificate, and with that degree certificate, you go to an Xerox wala and ask him to give you a Xerox. Now, this is not an ordinary size or a normal size paper. So he gave you a Xerox, and after getting a Xerox, you understood that Vice Chancellor's sign is missing. So you say, so when you get that certificate, is he effective? So he is not effective, because what you wanted, probably the entire degree certificate, probably reduced form, and you get an copy on a A3 paper, like that. But he has not done that, and you are not seeing any Vice Chancellor sign on that. So what you did, you go back to the Xerox wala and told him that, "Arey yaar, the sign is missing here." So he was kind enough, not that arrogant. So he, "Oh, sorry, I will give you another copy." So he does some adjustment and gives you another copy. Now, when he gave you an earlier copy, he was not effective. Okay. So when he gives you another copy, which is A3, you checked it, you say, "Yes, everything is okay." Now he is effective. So as far as you are paying only 1 rupee or money for only one copy, that is 2 rupees nowadays. So if you are paying 2 rupees for that copy, you are happy. But what you emphasize is the effectiveness in the process as an end product. So when you have got that Xerox paper, you have seen that whether it is fulfilling your specifications or not. So yeah, everything is being covered, everything is legible, I can read that, etc. That is being seen by you as an effectiveness. But when he was becoming effective, is he efficient? Not. Because probably when he has given you second copy, he lost the resources. The resources which are electricity, paper, maybe the time, because you are still in that shop, somebody has gone to another customer, the potential customer is lost. Now, who has looked at that efficiency? A Xerox owner is very keen to understand that how many resources he has used. So there are two types of customers. As long as you have paid him only for one copy, you are least bothered about that. So what is important here is there are two types of customer. One is effectiveness and efficiency. So who has seen the effectiveness? The external customer has seen the effectiveness. And as long as he has paid only 2 rupees, he is not bothered about it. But who has seen the efficiency in the process? Probably the internal customer, the plant head, the Xerox shop owner, who is very keen about the efficiency of the processes. So how much catalyst you have used, how much raw material you have used, like how many papers you have used, you have consumed power, you have consumed additional paper, and you have also wasted time. So this is being looked by an internal customer. So there are two types of customers: internal customer and external customer. And nowadays the adaptability is also being seen, doing the changes effectively and efficiently in the same way. So because now the things are changing, that is why the adaptability is the concept which is also coming in a picture. So there are two types of customer. One is internal customer and external customer. So what is the internal customer? Is your downstream in the processes, leadership, shareholders. They are all internal customers. While who are the external customer? Your client, end users, regulators are your external customer, who are actually taking over the product. This is from a service industry. So you can also say who actually consumes your product, who actually consumes your MEG. It may happen that your MEG is all in specification, but having some color issue in when they go for an polyester manufacturing, etc. It is being looked by an external customer. So effectiveness in the process by external customer, efficiency in the process is by internal customer. So it is very important to understand what is an voice of an customer. So let us look at an example, which is a cinema example. So generally, it is very important to convert the voice of an external customer to our internal processes or internal KPIs, what is important or what is controllable by our organization or what is controllable by our process. So let us look at this example of a cinema example. So imagine you as a customer, you are going for a movie. We are looking at a voice of a customer, and you are planning to go for a movie. What will be what criteria you will select the movie? So we can make it interactive, but with the time constraint and as it is virtual session, I will go through it. So probably you will look at the review ratings of the movie, then star cast, then what is the subject, who is the director, or what type of a film it is. Now these are your needs as you are a customer and you are going for a movie. Now I am asking you to change your role. Now you are an owner of a cinema theater, and as you being a owner of the cinema theater, or you owner of the cinema theater, you are going on a holiday to Singapore, and you have a manager placed in a city or of a Delhi or Mumbai somewhere, and you are asking that manager to give you a daily report at Singapore. So if you are at Singapore and you are asking your manager, what you will ask for? So if you want to look for, you will probably look at what is the occupancy percentage, any safety and safety or incident, what is our next plan, what is our operating cost, and what is our equipment status, etc. Now, if you compare the voice of a customer and voice of a owner, you will find they are totally different. So it is very important to convert, many of the times it is very important to convert that voice of a customer into our controllable factor or organizational controllable factor or producer's controllable factor, the tool which is used, which is called as an quality function deployment. So what is the use? It is very important to understand a voice of a customer, and it is very important to convert that voice into a critical to quality or my controllable factor, which I need to improve, or my important metric which will have a maximum impact on the customer. So the tool is called as an quality deployment, quality function deployment. Using the quality function deployment, I convert what by customer to how in the organization. That is what is it. It is also called as an house of quality, etc. So there is a method which is being used to convert that voice into house, and which is important how. Again, we understand it by a number, and as is a Six Sigma, it is everything about the number. Data will speak about everything, and we arrive at what are important house. So once we understand that and convert that voice into a controllable factor or what I need to improve, I move on to write down a project charter. So what does the project charter talks about? It clarifies what is expected by a project team, keeps the team focused and aligned with the project priorities, transfer the project from champion to improvement team. So it is always said that the HOD of the plant or whoever is a beneficiary of the project, process owner or champion, will write down the charter and then give it to an improvement project. Signed by champion, project manager, and a Six Sigma consultant. That is the most important thing. So, what are the different elements of the charter? There are 6 elements in the charter. So, the charter consists of 6 elements. One is a business case. So, when I say business case, it is very important. I have been speaking since start that the project must be linked with a business objective. So why I am doing this project has to be very clear when you are taking up the projects. So you need to establish that this project or this improvement is in line with a business objective. That is what is I call it as a business case. Once you are very clear, that gives you a pride also that how if I improve this thing, how it is going to help my organization. Once you establish that it is going to help my organization by so many money, so many things, etc., then I convert that into a problem or a goal statement. So what is that problem or a goal statement? It is objective, clear, concise, and measurable terms. So when was the problem? How long was the problem? Means I will try to find out the baseline data, and if from that baseline data, I will say that this is what is the problem in terms of the numbers, and this is my goal is. So I will explain you with an example how the problem and goal statement is written. Then next is what is the benefit from the project? Is the benefit tangible or intangible? Or there is another word which is called as an hard or soft. So everything is money in the organization. But what we try to find out, tangible means, is it reflecting directly into books of accounts, or it is employee satisfaction or customer satisfaction or time cycle improvement, etc., etc. If we are not able to calculate the direct relation into books of accounts, we call it as an intangible project. But if suppose you reduce the cost of manufacturing of MEG and you sell 100 metric tons of MEG per day, and you reduce that cost by 50 paisa per metric ton, so 100 metric ton per into 50 paisa, 1000 into 50. So that is what is a saving which is directly going to reflect in your books of accounts. Then we call it as a project, tangible project. Then when we are scoping a project, what are the exact physical boundaries of the project? So what is in scope, what is out scope is clearly written down. Then the roles of responsibilities, who is a manager or who is a champion of the project, who is a process owner, who is a black belt, etc., etc., the roles of responsibilities, and the key dates of the each phase, means how, when I will complete a defined phase, when measure, etc., etc., is clearly written down. So based on this small background, we move on to a actual charter, which is very simple. The case is about reducing the electricity consumption of at your house. So everybody gets an electricity bill at the end of the month from an electricity board or whoever is supplying it. The project is about reducing the consumption. Okay, so whenever you write a charter or you is a title of the project, the intention of the project has to be very clear in your title. So it should always start from the verb. So reduce, improve, eliminate, etc. So the title of the project should specify or should reflect what your intention of the project is. So here I am clearly saying reduce electricity consumption. Okay. So if I want to reduce electricity consumption at my house, what is my business case is? So the electricity bill is being paid as a one of the expenses during my month. And if I reduce that consumption, it will directly save my money, as simple as that. So try to understand, this is a simple project where we are writing down a charter. Okay. So once you are very clear why I am doing this project, then it is going to a problem and goal statement. Okay, so problem statement, you can write down problem and goal statement together also, no problem, in the form of a table also. So what is this? Basically, when we talk about an electricity consumption, probably we always, what strikes to our mind is rupees per month, because we get an electricity bill in rupees per month. So what exactly you are going to work on? So probably what will happen if suppose you worked on this project on reducing the units uh, uh, per monthly units consumption, and what happens, the electricity board has changed the tariff. So what will happen, even if you have reduced the units because the electricity board has changed the tariff and increased the rate of per unit, your bill remains same. So you have to take up a problem or a CTQ where your actual work will reflect. So what is really measured? So what is the unit of measure? So here, when you are talking of electricity consumption, it may happen that you are getting bill for rupees per month. You are working on units. So it is better to take up a project for units per month. And then you are getting units per month. So it is better that you slice it down to a narrowest level, like units per day, because what will happen, the feedback loop will be also possible. The feedback loop will be available for you at the earliest. Now what will happen in this, you will realize after a 1 month that you have not changed anything. But if you are taking units per day, probably some action has been taken, and you will realize that yes, this is not working or this is working, and you will come to know that yes, I have to do something different, and you have a different preventive action. So it is better that you slice it down to an narrowest level or a smallest level. So here I say it is units per day. Now once I say units per day, it is very important also to, I have to specify that what time I will take a reading. It will not happen like that. One day I will take a reading at 7 o'clock, then I will take, second day I will take a reading at 9 o'clock, or etc., etc. And there is another problem with the units, that few months have got 28 days, few months have got 31 days, few months has got 30 days. So probably it is not a right picture that how much I am really consuming on the day. So units per day is a right picture, or will my feedback loop will be also faster available. So how I write my problem statement is, number of units used for the period January 9 to April 9 are average 45 units per day with standard deviation of this, etc. And my goal is to reduce it to 40 units per day. So when you are writing down a problem statement, probably what you have given a baseline with more than 120 days. So yes, 4 months data, and 4 months data says that you have taken 45 units average per day, and you want to reduce that 45 to 40 units by this December 09. So very clear, when you are taken baseline, how was the average, what is your target, and what time you will achieve that target. Now, when you are taking a target, there are 2-3 ways which are very important to select that target. So when you are taking up that target, you may look at what is the entitlement in the process. So what is the meaning of an entitlement in the process? Means what is the best level you have achieved. So suppose you are improving your timing for 100-meter running. Every time you are completing the race of 100-meter in 10.3 seconds, something like that, you cannot take a target which is Usain Bolt's record, which is 9.8 seconds. So what is achieved by me as a best. So that is what we call as an entitlement in those processes. So what is best achieved, you take up as a target and achieve that consistently and take a next step. So it is improving the process step by step. That is how one way of taking up a goal statement or a target. The second approach is what are my customers are doing? What is benchmark? Now, to get an admission in certain college, you have to have an 80% marks and above. That time you cannot look at an entitlement. You have to have more than 80 marks because it is a benchmark for you. Your other producers are doing it like that, and that is how you want to do it. This is one of the other method by which you can select a goal. Okay, and the third aspect is what is designed in the process. Now, if you have designed a reactor which is expected to you to give an 200 tons of MEG, and by optimization or any process, you are only producing 180 metric tons per day. There is no entitlement. There is no need to look at an benchmark or what others are doing. But you have yourself have designed a process to give you output which is 200 metric tons, and you are not able to get that, then that becomes your goal statement. So basically, problem and goal statement will give you a target as well as your baseline level. What is exactly the baseline level data was, and also during which period it was like that. Now, problem or goal statement is not to write down how you will do it, because as you look at you recall your Six Sigma funnel side, it only talks about the why. So what is why here? My higher electricity or units per day is my why. Okay, so I am only focusing on my why, that is units per day. I'm not right now, I am not interested in what are reasons for that. So that is not a problem. Which is pain area is my problem. My units consumption per day is high is my problem. Okay. So once you write down that from 45 to 40, how much you will save, you can write down that as a benefit, which is a tangible benefit as a cost reduction. Okay. So probably you will be saving 3,000 rupees per annum. That is what is a benefit. Now, once you complete all these three aspects, business case, problem and goal statement, financial benefit, you come to on the right side where you scope the project. So scope means there are two types of scopes. That is where my process starts with and ends with. What are the physical boundaries of the process? So where your process starts and where your process ends is my physical boundary. So somebody who is taking up a tapping before my meter, I'm not paying for that, so it is not my concern. My process starts with my meter, which is established at the downstairs of the building. So where the process ends, it is with the consumption of electricity. It ends. What is in scope? All equipments, all days are in scope. means the physical boundary of the process and a mental boundary of the process. So when to give you a flavor of a process improvement, the process improvement can be achieved only by two ways. So suppose there is a process and something is wrong in the process, that is a physical boundary of the process, which is called as a start and end of the process. And the second is what are the inputs which are coming to the process, and if the inputs are bad, my process is fantastic. But what are the inputs which are coming to the process are bad and affecting my output, probably to a reactor, bad raw material, unspecified raw material, or raw material from particular vendor, etc., etc. So in that case, my in scope is and out scope is and my mental boundary of the process, which are coming as inputs, while my where my process starts and where my process ends is the physical boundary of the process. So if you want to improve the process, there are only two aspects: the process and the inputs to the process that you can improve. So probably in this case, what I am looking at, am I looking from all the equipments all days? Then yes. Now if you look at the outscope, so I know there is a festival season which is coming up. So in that festival season, it is likely that Diwali is coming up and my unit per day consumption may be likely to go up. So I am not. I am not going to look at those festival days. So if you look at those festival days, if you outscope those festival days, it is very important also for you to eliminate those days in a baseline. So based on that, you calibrate your baseline also. So whenever you select the data from January to April, you also remove those festival days. There is another problem in this also. So this data is from January to April. So whether for this electricity consumption there is a seasonality effect which is going to impact on this project. So how you are going to narrow down or going to calculate a factor for the seasonality effect, or if this is January 9 to April 09, you work out something and then compare the data. You end the project in December and compare the data from January 10 to April 10. Is it going to going to be like that? Because again, there is a seasonality effect which is going to have an impact on your project. So you have to write down that clearly. What is outscope, the festival days, seasonality effect, etc. Then the most important and a constraint CTQ or the secondary CTQ means that is the way it should not be done. Now, as I understand, I have a brief idea about the process when I take up this project. When I am analyzing why my units are high, I came out with the analysis that I am doing my press or I'm pressing my clothes at home. Okay, or I am pressing my clothes home. So I came out with a right idea and started giving it to Dhobi. Okay, or laundry. So will that impact my will that reduce my electricity bill? So what I am writing down that my laundry bill and my medical bill. Why medical bill? Suppose I start keeping off an geyser and start doing taking my bath with an cold water. So my geyser is not required for me. The probably my medical bill will go up. So what is the way it should not be done? So if I want to reduce, or if I am reducing my bill, my laundry bill or my medical bill will remain constant. So what is these are the two metrics which are restricting me to or constraining me to reduce my units. So I declare them as a constraint CTQ and secondary CTQ. Okay. Then what is the process impacted by probably a conversion or reduction of an daily expenses, etc., or monthly expenses. The business why impacted. So here is specifically written why impacted. So that is what is we call it as big why. So when I have been saying you that what is a business objective? So there are 7 or 8 business objectives which are generally written for an organization: increase revenue, reduce cost, improve customer satisfaction, or environment, or like that. So reduce market complaints, etc. So which is the big why that is being addressed in this? So probably here the cost reduction is a big why which is addressed in this. So then we form a team. I will explain you the roles and responsibility of the team later. So there is a project leader, then there is a black belt who is support, then champion or process owner who is a beneficiary of the project, and the team members. And we clearly write down what are the timelines of the project. So generally define phase, if you have a data ready, your define phase will take only 1 week, major phase will also take 1 week. And what is important for you to have an screening of the excess, which will take you 6 to 8 weeks, then improving the process, and then controlling the process. Now, controlling the process to have an confidence that you have really improved the process. Now, if you suppose at the starting, if you take a problem statement in units per month, probably you will have to wait for 4 months to establish that you have really improved the process. Because if suppose it has improved in 1 month, you cannot conclude with that I have improved the process. But if it is a weekly data or a daily data, probably you will be able to conclude that within 8 to 10 weeks that yes, really you have improved the process. That is how the project charter is written. It is very important to write down a project charter for each and every project. And with means this is a starting point. Whatever projects you are taking up as your study, please try to write down the charter of your project so that everything is clear. What is scope, what is business goal, how it is linked with a business objective, what is my problem statement, etc., etc. Now, what we'll do today, we'll stop because process mapping is also a longer subject and it will take, we'll overshoot the time. So probably we'll stop here today. So how was the session? So far, so good. Can somebody among you tell me what you have learned from today's session? Yes? Can anybody among you can summarize what you have learned from today's session? So there are 58 plus people. Hello, Rishikesh?
Hello, sir. This is
Uh,
Himanshu Saluja, sir. Yes, sir.
yes. Otherwise, I will take up a name and he has to tell something.
Yes, sir.
There is somebody
If
who is
anybody,
volunteering. I
sir,
expect
this side
that some.
Himanshu. Sir,
Yes.
this side Himanshu. Yes,
Yes. Okay.
yes, sir. Is there anybody have any doubts you have to clear with sir now, or you have sent
You
me a
can.
message to me and Rishikesh also?
Okay. So before that, Himanshu, we close. Can somebody tell me that what they have learned today?
Yes, sir. Why not? Sure.
Yes.
Anybody come to tell
Any
what you
volunteer?
learned today?
Otherwise, I will pick up somebody from 58.
What the yellow belt
Rushik,
people do? Like we
Yellow
have
belt.
learned, like black belt difference, like green belt and yellow belt. We will do value.
So you are aware about the master art, karate, etc.
Yes,
So
sir.
in that karate also there are levels, na?
Yes, sir.
Blue
Yes.
belt, black belt, like that. So it is similar to that. One who has more knowledge is a black belt. Then slightly regional level is an green belt. And different organizations have different perspective. Many of the people also call teammates as yellow belt, while few people also have a yellow belt certification who actually leads the project at a smaller level, shoot at site or process level, like that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So basically it is a level of knowledge.